Youngpreneurs Podcast, episode number 162 with your host, Victor Ahipini. What's up, world? Another day, another podcast. And today I've got Dustin Mathews from the Speaking Empire, and we are going to be talking about some pretty cool things. I've obviously done some public speaking training with different clients, and this is what he does over in the US. And we're going to talk about everything that he does to help people sell more, to help people be more confident, and so much more. We delve into his business, into how he's looked to grow, what his marketing looks like, and I guess what he offers to his clients. There's a ton of value when he's selling packages all the way from $5,000 up to $100,000. So if that's something that you maybe one day aspire to, you're looking to improve your public speaking or your sales, then you definitely want to grab a pen and paper for this episode. Guys, if you enjoy the show, please jump over to iTunes or whoever you listen to your podcast with, leave a rating and a review, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. For those of you who are looking to start out or looking to move into the online space, jump over to passiveincomeyoung.com. You can see all our past episodes plus some cool resources like a 4-video series that I created that is going to show you how to start a business online for $0, how to test, how to create, and how to market it. It is pretty cool and is very, very helpful. So if that is something that interests you, that's passiveincomeyoung.com. But in the meantime, guys, sit back, relax, and enjoy. You're listening to the Youngpreneurs Podcast, the #1 resource online for under 35-year-olds, where we chat twice a week to the most inspiring entrepreneurs in the world. We have it all. If you're looking for inspiration, guidance, or actionable tips to help you transition from that job into a business, or if you're ready to take that business to a whole new level, then this is the place to be. Get ready to live life on your own terms. Youngpreneurs, welcome to another episode of the Youngpreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Victor Ahipini. As always, thanks for jumping in with us. You could be anywhere right now, but you're here with me and my new friend, Dustin Mathews, who is the founder of Speaking Empire, and that is doing amazingly cool things. I think we're going to have, if you've followed the past episodes where I've talked about public speaking myself, I feel like you're going to have a hell of a lot of fun. It's obviously something that a lot of people out there struggle with, have challenges with, but they're just like everything else. There's systems, strategies, and ways to get over it. So we're going to dive into all of that and a hell of a lot more. Welcome to the show, Dustin.
Victor, I am so excited to be here. I am pumped. I'm elated to be on the show. Thank you.
It's my absolute pleasure to have you on. But what we like to do on the show is kind of break down a few barriers for people. So if we were to take it back to your young days, what did growing up look like for you? Was the presentation and public speaking side of things always on the cards for you? Was entrepreneurship in itself always on the cards? Was that where the role models came from, or did you kind of stumble into it?
Oh, definitely stumble. So I will say entrepreneurship. I'll get right to entrepreneurship. I do love talking about that. My mother was always entrepreneurial, although she had many jobs. And so she always did it like a side hustle, or she always did something. And so I learned that from her. But the whole like public speaking thing, I hated the idea of getting up in front of others and having to talk very early on. I was very introverted, still am, ambivert. And so very introverted, and I didn't want people judging me, and I thought I would look stupid, and I had a lot of like mind chatter going on. But like when I did it for the first time, and I'm like, wow, people are taking me seriously, and I saw the benefits of it, it rocked my world.
And then how did Speaking Empire, how did that kind of evolve, or when did the evolution or the first startings of that occur?
Yeah, well, I want to ask you a question, Victor. Have you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Yeah, I've read that. A couple of our guests have read that in the past.
It's a money book, and that started my whole journey. And so I read that book, and I got so excited. I thought real estate was going to be my thing, but it wasn't. And what it did, though, is it made me go to kind of a meetup group of people that were real estate investing. And so I met a guy there, and I said, listen, if you teach me how to buy a house, I'll come work for free for you, because Rich Dad says go find a mentor. And so I did, And he took me on because it was a startup company, and I just started doing things around. And that's when I discovered marketing, and then I discovered speaking. And so one day I was forced to speak. And so I hated it. I didn't want to do it, but if I wanted to keep learning and be in that environment, I had to do it. There was no getting around it. And so I did it, and it changed my whole life. And so, yeah, I wasn't in the cards for me until someone forced me into doing it. And I found out the benefit of it, and I'm hooked.
Cool. And what kind of talk was it? Were you selling from stage? Was it like a home and land type package company off the plan? And you were selling dreams to the masses, or?
Yeah, I mean, it was a real estate company. So this little startup company went down to, here in the US, we have these things, foreclosures. The bank puts out a list. You can get it down in public records down at the government office. And so we were like a tech company, and we were putting these listings online. So like investors could buy these, discount properties. But the challenge was like no one knew, like we had these foreclosed, like a listing, but no one knew what to do with them. And so we started bringing in, these educators and trainers, but I essentially was selling like the service for like $99 a month.
Yep.
And, I didn't know what I know today, and I was just selling on passion. I was telling, here are all the features. I gave them no benefits. I gave them all features, but I had that passion. I had that drive, and that's what communicated and led me down the road.
Cool. And then I guess what were the next steps that actually, got you transitioning away from that space and delving more into the public speaking? How did that all occur?
Yeah, so that was like my training bed, if you want to call it, my training ground. And so I eventually would leave that company because I was an employee there. And I'm like, man, we have all these people coming through that are rock stars that are telling me I can go and do this on my own. So I left, and after like 3 years. And so I said, okay, what am I going to do? Because I didn't have like a product or service. So I found somebody in the business credit space. They taught people how to get business credit cards. And I was like, oh, this sounds cool. And I said, all right, I want to test this out on me. So in 3 months' time, the guy that I was working with, he got me almost $100,000. He got me $93,000 in business credit cards. And obviously, as a young kid, I said, whoa, this is awesome. This is powerful. And I said, I got to share this with others, because I know there are a lot of young entrepreneurs that want to start a business, but they don't have money. And so I said, I got to do this. So I made him an offer. I said, hey, listen, you do this as a service. I want to put this into information like binders and online courses, and I want to sell the course versus your time. What do you think about that? And he's like, oh, that sounds good. And so we became partners, and I basically went on the road and I sold people a package of how they can learn how to do this from the comfort of their own home. And so I had to go out and speak in order to eat and survive and make money. And so that's really where I started to come into my own with this whole speaking thing to get clients.
Nice. And I think one thing that a lot of people, they sit back and they hear and they go, oh, yeah, he was passionate. He must have had the gift of the gab, even though he said he's an introvert and things like that. I mean, to me, and I want to see if you agree, which, I'm thinking that you will, but to me, just like anything, you go to university to become a dentist. If you got asked to do a filling on your first day, you're not going to have the skills nor the confidence to want to do it, and you're not going to be overly efficient at it. But just like when we're young and learning to ride a bike, we jump on a tricycle that's nice and stable, and then a two-wheeled bike with training wheels, and then if we want to become an Olympic cyclist, yes, after not too long, if you kind of apply 80-20, you can jump onto a bike with no training wheels and be pretty proficient. And then I think it's the same with public speaking. Is there's ways of massively having training wheels on that you can quickly take off and become proficient, and then it's a matter of honing and crafting your skill. Is that something you agree with, or do you hunt out those who already have that confidence to be up on stage?
I completely agree. Like I was that guy. Like I was the guy at university, like that found a legal loophole to get out of public speaking. So I didn't want to. Like it's funny now because I run a company, and I think that's life. That's the journey. You get these challenges, and sometimes we avoid them, and then sometimes they hit us over the head. And so, Victor, to answer your question, yeah, it's like a muscle, right? You got to go. You got to do reps. You got to put the work in. But the biggest thing I think that is fearful is, and this was my story. Like, what if I screw up? What if I forget? They're going to make fun of me. They're going to laugh at me. And so I get it. Like it's tough with that mindset. And that's why people would rather die than do public speaking. And I think it's actually worse, Victor, because I teach people how to like sell when they speak. And so asking for money from the stage, I think, is the greatest fear, even more so, because if people say no, well, now it's not one-on-one. You're in a room full of 100 people or 1,000 people, and it's no all at once. And so that's like 100 hand slaps, in 1 second. So yeah, it's a muscle that you just have to do. And here's what I just want to add in one thing, just to give some passion and love, because I get it, like having the fear. I get that people don't want to get up, but if you look at the most influential people in society, like if you're a young entrepreneur, you want to grow your business, look at the leaders out there. Look at, Steve Jobs, right? Look at, Mark Zuckerberg. Look at these like captains of business, right? Like they have to give shareholder meetings. They have to do, product release meetings. And so I get, work at home, make money in your underwear. But if you really want to create a difference and have fun doing it, you've got to learn how to communicate, especially with Facebook Live, Snapchat, like that. The spotlight, the camera is on. So you got to communicate.
And I think that's one of the big things is like, even if it's learning to sell from stage, it's not. Or learning to sell from a webinar. It's not. It's learning to sell and be confident. Because if you jump on a Facebook Live, like your sell might only be a call to action to get someone to purchase something. But a lot of, not that I would ever call myself a great copywriter by any sense, but I'm fairly engaging on social media, and I write it how I try and give a engaging presentation. Like, then I just put a few more spaces in between each line, and then apparently that's copywriting. But that's what people look for, and I guess that's like you say, that's one of the biggest fears is the selling. I'm going to get embarrassed speaking on stage, and then no one's going to buy my stuff, and then I'm going to get depressed as well. So it's this horrible cycle. But you hear of guys like even the Russell Brunsons of the world, the ClickFunnels owners, and he's like, I went and spoke on stage and I was super passionate and I sold nothing because he wasn't taking people on the right journey, like you were saying earlier, features, no benefits, and all of those sorts of things. When it comes to, say, versus giving you a high school English class speech that's worth 10% of your year versus, say, giving a presentation to get people engaged and in the buying mode, what are kind of some of the basic fundamentals that I guess you either work through or would be very, very valuable to start people on the right track?
Yeah, absolutely. I think about that as a real great example is dating, right? So before, like, dating and getting married. So like, I know people listening and they're far off from getting married, but you get it. Like, before you get married, you got to go on a date. You're going to kiss, right? There's all these things that have to happen. So if you think about it that way, right? Like if you're giving a presentation and you want to get someone to buy, and Victor, you hit it on the head. Selling isn't always like, oh, I'm selling a product from stage. It could be like setting up an appointment, right? A strategy session. It can be opt into my list. If you're in the nonprofit world, it's like, give me some money, donate to my charity. And so selling isn't just always like the product, but at the end of the day, what you want to do is drive people to take action. And so the big thing I want to communicate is like, you don't wait to the very end and say, hey, what do you think? Do you want to buy this product? Here's the price. No, you get yeses throughout. And so I'm sure you've heard it takes 6 or 7 yeses to make a sale, or whatever the number is. And so what you want to be doing in any sort of presentation is checking in with the audience, asking them yes. Or if we're doing Facebook Live, right? Hey guys, put some comments. Let me know that you can hear me. Say yes if you like this idea. Say yes if you agree to me. And you don't have to be super hype, because I know when I say yes, like some people are like, oh man, that guy's too American or he's too flashy, right? Like I get it. Like I understand, but you have to get people to nod their head. You have to get them to agree with you before you go and ask for the big sale. And again, the sale doesn't have to be money or a product, but if you want them to do something, you've got to get a lot of smaller yeses, whether it's head nods, typing in the chat, raising their hand. And so that's the big thing I see a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, they don't do. And then they really do fall on their face, and it hurts.
Yeah. And that's something that, like you say with the dating, people just go to propose on the first date as well. They don't get those micro commitments or even the opt-ins, and it comes to marketing. There's so much to the whole sales side of things, but you don't kind of sit there and go, hey, I've got this cool product. It's only $10,000. Do you want to buy? Like, you go to to test drive a car. They don't go. You don't walk onto the lot and they say, okay, this car's $100,000. You should probably purchase. They pump you up. They find out, does the features suit you? If you jump into the car, why don't you take it for a test drive so you get the feeling of it? Yeah, okay, why don't we work out what the repayments might look like? And they take you on this journey. And I guess it's the same sort of thing, but it's also, I guess, people relating to you as well and taking them on that journey as well of like, hey, I'm a normal person who is similar to you or is like you, or you can relate to me because of A, B, and C, which is something I think a lot of people miss as well.
Yeah, and the thing I would say is sometimes they can't relate to you, right? Like maybe like, you're young and you roll into an audience and, the average age is 60. And so like they look at you, but what they could say is, oh, well, he reminds me of my son or my grandson. Or if you tell case studies, or when you tell case studies of people that you've worked with, clients, your friends or family, or even like what's going on in the world, like, you mentioned Russell Brunson, right? Like people, in your community can identify with him. And so like, if you tell case studies, or when you do in your story, then you start to bond, even if you don't match that audience. But at the ideal scene is they're like, yeah, I like that Victor guy, man. He's very cool. He's very laid back like me. And so I can resonate with him, but you can't always do that sometimes. So you got to come with other tools.
Yeah. And what would some of the key tools in your arsenal, what are some of the key tools that you take into kind of any sales presentation, or that either help you resonate with the audience better or help you build towards making that, after that micro commitment, the sales side of things?
Yeah, I have got a couple, and these are tech tools. So I gotta ask you, Victor. So is your audience, are they into sort of the tech hacks and ninja stuff like that?
I am. So that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Well, let me share my favorite one. It's called, and I know you go out and you speak. It's called the hotel hijack. And so it's this idea that if you're speaking somewhere, especially if you're speaking and there's breakout sessions, meaning I can go see Victor, I can go see Susan in this room at the same time, or I got to choose this third speaker. So now it's like, oh crap, where does the traffic go? So I use this thing called hotel hijack, which is we can run Facebook ads, and LinkedIn and some of these other things are starting to come online with this. But if you're in a hotel and you know where the people are going to be the day before, during, and then after, you can run ads to that hotel with your face on it. And so now, like when they see you in the hallway, or they see, oh, Victor's in the speaker lineup, I don't know that guy, but for some reason I feel like I do, I should go see him. And so it's all about impressions. And so I speak a lot at the Dan Kennedy conference, Glazer Kennedy conferences. And what I will do is I will run ads, because sometimes they put me on a spot where I have to compete against another speaker. So I'll run ads. I'll take over the hotel, and yeah, I'm sure there's some people that are staying there that like aren't there for the conference, but I'm okay with that because it's so targeted and it's so cheap, because I'm targeting the hotel.
Like so, $5 for your whole campaign, and then who cares about the other ones? Like it's the ones that are there to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of my favorite ones. The other one I love to do is an intro video. And so this is one actually I shared with Russell Brunson. We did some events together early in before he started ClickFunnels. And it was really cool because he's like, man, I'm just an internet guy and I'm not really big into events, kind of burned out. And I said, listen, let's do some stuff together. And so we did some stuff together. It's pretty cool. And I told him about intro video. Now he's got like a really, awesome one because he's got Tony Robbins as an endorsement in there. But one of my ways to build influence is, sometimes you go to an event, Victor, you let me know if this has happened to you. Sometimes like you get an MC to introduce you and it really like sucks. It really bombs. Has that happened to you yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for some of you listening in, like if it hasn't happened, it's likely to happen, because even if you have a good MC, what's going to happen is like they got so many things going on in their head. Like they're thinking about the next talk. They're thinking about, are we on time? All this stuff. So I love to have a really high intensity intro video with music that introduces me. And so when you do that, it gets the crowd excited even before they see you. And so like they're anticipating and they're liking you even before you get up there, almost pulling for you. And so that's another one of my favorite strategies to get the audience excited, is a high intensity intro video even before you get out there.
Yeah, nice. And I mean, it helps social proof you further, and makes you sound like less of a dick for just bragging about yourself, which people it's a hard line to follow, like to find, because there's the whole this was me and now this is me versus, and I've done this and I've done this and I've done this, which some people go down the path of, and you're like, uh,
I
man,
hate that guy. I
yeah,
hate that guy. Like I'm a humble guy, but I understand the power of influence. I understand having someone else brag about you. Like that's
mm.
good. That's a good thing. I don't like to be the guy bragging about myself, but I get it. So I'm in alignment with you, Victor. I hate that guy.
Delving into the business side of things. So, what when you first started out, it was obviously jumping out of the credit coaching business um,
Hmm.
into more of the speaking empire. How what has the process? What is the offerings that you've had and the user acquisition? What does all that kind of stuff look like
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So on the speaking empire side, we found in like this info marketing coaching sort of space, there's no shortage of people you can go get coaching programs from. You can sure buy a whole bunch of digital products, but what we found for us at least is that we can charge a lot more, which is a good thing, right? People like that, make more money. And by providing a service, so people come now to our building. So we bought a building and we do like one on many experiences, like workshops.
Yeah.
Many people know these as workshops. And so people come to Speaking Empire and they'll invest anywhere from 5,000 all the way up to 100,000, depending on like what they need, right? It's all about asking your customer, surveying them, what do you need, and figure out a way to provide it. And so at our workshops, we work with people and they actually leave with something done. So as an example, because I talk about presentations, like a lot of people stay up the night before, or they don't even do it. And so we said, well, why don't we just work with people, invite them to come down for 3 days, and we take them through our process. And that's what we do. And so people are willing to pay for that because like they know they're not going to like turn the phone off and Facebook. And so they come to our office, they write their presentation, and they're done. And so we do a lot of like workshops and hold people's hands and give them an asset at the end of it. And
Mm.
people love it. That's a big one.
Yeah, nice. And how have you found getting those people up? Because I mean, even at the $5,000 price point, that's the higher ticket item.
Yep.
Then you're moving up a lot higher. Is it your ads, your Facebook ads? Is it specific outreach campaigns that you're doing offline? Is it recommendations from friends and family? But that still would have had to come. I mean, from past for recommendations from past applicants, but that still would have had to come from somewhere. So, how have you gone about that side of things?
Victor, I feel bad because I don't have a magic pill answer, but I will give you the answer we use. So we do everything. So our acquisition comes from speaking at events, of course, right? And sometimes you get invited to speak for free, and that's cool because you can sell a product or service, or sometimes not. Sometimes you can actually do this pay to play. So sometimes at the Dan Kennedy, when they don't invite me, I say, hey, listen, what if I sponsor lunch? I buy people lunch and they can come see me in like a breakout session. And so you can actually buy your way on stage. So that's another media. Obviously, we're running Facebook ads, and we don't go right to the 5K right out of the gate.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
give people a taste. So we have digital products online, and then we follow up through Facebook Messenger, and we follow up through SMS because those are the cool ways to follow up now. And we still do phone. And so we do that. We do direct mail. So we have a list of people that have invested with us. And so we're not just like mailing cold. We mail to our own people that have invested and say, hey, listen, why don't you come to this special 3-day event? And so the big core, Victor, of our machine is we want everyone to come to the Amplify experience. It's our 3-day boot camp. You could call it indoctrination because I know a lot of people know that word that listen into your show here. And so we indoctrinate people into our process. And then we say, hey, listen, if you want some help with it, we can help you and hold your hand. Like we give away the goods. We give away our secret sauce. But the challenge is people have a hard time implementing. So then we offer that. So acquisition comes through speaking at events, Facebook ads, picking up the phone, direct mail, retargeting, of course. And I'm sure there's other ones that I'm not thinking about, but those are the core ones. And so it's not one thing, it's a lot of things.
yeah. And I guess that's the brilliance of it for those out there listening is there's pretty much never is a magic sauce. There's there's trying things, seeing what works, seeing what sticks to the wall, what doesn't. But I think one of the important things is, I guess, is starting with something and not trying to start with everything as well. Because you've got to, whether it's just getting to speak at events and then, being able to apply a few things onto it. Because if you do try and do everything at once, it's easy. It's easy to see all these big companies that are targeting you on Google and then giving you a mail out and giving you a phone call and the SMS and all those sorts of things. But you're better off starting and not being 100% optimized than you are, trying to do everything and never even getting out of the starting blocks.
I love it. A man of action absolutely should do something. And I love the idea of one to many. So if you can leverage and put yourself in front of a group, that's great. If not, then just do it the old fashioned way, one-on-one, pick up the phone, go to an event and talk to somebody one-on-one, but eventually get to one to many because you can leverage big time.
And what does, how's the business gone from kind of starting to now? What's it kind of look like, and what kind of successes have you had?
Victor, this is awesome. I've been doing a lot of podcasts with the book coming out and everything.
Yep.
No one's ever asked me that question. So I freaking love that you asked that question. So what we went from was we used to do, so we started off as consultants. You come down to Tampa Bay, Florida, and you would work with us one-on-one for a day. And we sold that for $12,000. And then we said, okay, we need to do a mastermind, help people actually grow the business. So like we'd write your presentation one day and we're like, oh no, this is more than just about presentations, about a business. So then now we've rolled out workshops because we're like, oh man, we're so burnt out. We're so tired of working one-on-one with people. So now we're going to do one-to-many. Plus they benefit better because they learn from other people and it's over 3 days instead of 1 day. So now we went from offering that to now we offer a curriculum. So we determined in the speaking world, like if you're going to speak as a business owner is one of your things, there's a bunch of tools and resources you need. One is you need your own podcast, you need your own book, you need the spotlight, you need to be in the media at some point if you really want to scale and go up the scale there. And so now we just simply offer that. We find people and partner with them and say, hey, listen, welcome to Speaking Empire. We worked with you on your presentation. How about getting in the media? Or how about starting your own podcast? Or how about writing a book? And so now we have like a 1, 2, and 3 year curriculum that we're working on here at Speaking Empire. And what that does is that increases customer lifetime value. And so we already have a relationship with a buyer. Why not just put more great offers in front of them and make more money?
It's a brilliant way of figuring out your core business and then saying, well, what else do they need?
There's some pain in that, Victor, that you may not hear because I'm a very happy-go-lucky guy. But what happened was people would come to Speaking Empire, come to our events, and have great wins and successes, and then I'd hear these conversations like, oh well, I'm working with this guy, and it didn't piss me off. I'm like, they need these tools, and I'm like, oh man, I should offer that. But it took me forever to realize that. So I saw the money literally slipping out of my hands. And, sometimes it takes that in life, to motivate you. And it wasn't a bad thing. It's just like, oh man, I could be capitalizing on that. Yep. And so it took me a while and I figured it out. And so now we're building it.
And particularly when you offer a good service, it's still a matter of saying no to some of those opportunities as well at different stages. So I mean, I've got different online training services, and there are different opportunities that you can chase, but it's a matter of, I think, getting your core service, getting your marketing so that you've got a continuous flow of people coming in to be able to add that. You don't want to be jumping here, there, and everywhere, but once you do see it, and it keeps knocking on your door and saying, hey, I'm going to write a book. Hey, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. And you're like, oh, we should probably help you write a book because it's part of what we it's part of what we tell you that you need to to implement our strategy. So it gives you kind of that full, not necessarily closure, but those who want it, those who see benefit of what you've already taught, and you say, and you should probably have a book or a podcast. And you're like, oh, and we also teach that. They're like, oh. Or it seems logical that the person who I've just got lots of value out of teaches me something of more value and helps me get there, which I guess it comes back to a lot of different things, whether it's self-confidence, whether it's having the systems in place and having the time to be able to implement it as well. Is that they're all kind of interesting things.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's all that, and that's why I didn't arrive there quicker. It was like, man, I got to say no because I say yes to everything, and then, oh man, do we even have bandwidth to do this? And who do I trust? So all that stuff runs through your head, but eventually, it keeps hitting you, and that's the cool thing is if you play the game long enough, this world has a way of like keep hitting you over the head until you get it. Sometimes you never get it, and maybe you go out of business, or like that's just a life lesson. But if you stick around enough and you serve and you come with passion and energy, you will eventually learn the lesson one way or another.
So talk us through the book. What's the go with the book? What can people expect, or what's the one reason that they should be picking this up?
Confidence. Yeah. And I know that's a tough thing to sell. Like no one's like, oh, well, I'm not confident. But really what this does is it gives you a framework. So, no matter what you're selling and no matter what media, Facebook Live, podcast, whatever it is, you've got to be able to communicate now today more than ever, because, Snapchat, Instagram, so all this stuff, right? The spotlight is on us entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, whatever you call yourself. And so the book shows you all the different ways to communicate through different media and channels, and it gives you a formula to be more persuasive and communicate, not in a sleazy way, not super fast talking, but your own authentic style. And so you got to be you, but you got to get people into action. And that's what the book's about, is how do you do that?
Nice. And for those out there, because we're getting to the point of winding up, where can they go, and what can they do to get their hands on the book?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. NoBSpresentations.com. I made it easy. Everything's there. So if you like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever your bookseller is, go there. And the reason why I send you there, NoBSpresentations.com, is because a book is great and it has a lot of powerful information, but I want to give you tools. I want you to implement quicker, because when you do, you'll be raving fans. You'll talk about it. And so when you get the book, there's tools and resources at NoBSpresentations.com that help you just execute a whole lot quicker.
And that's what's super important. And it's actually a transition that books have actually had the ability to do over the last kind of X amount of years. Is it's not just in your store and happy days, that's the end of it. You can see me if I'm doing a speaking tour or something like that. It's all right, end of chapter 1, you can jump into here, you can download this, and you can the raving fan aspect of it is a lot easier to, or if done well, is a lot easier to kind of develop in a book, which is only good for the reader. I mean, it's awesome for the reader, and that's super cool. So just a couple of things to wind up. Outside of the No BS book of yours, No BS Presentations, what's a book or a resource that you'd recommend to other young entrepreneurs? It can be just something out that's had a big influence on you, that you would recommend to them.
Oh man, so many. Think and Grow Rich for sure. I think of also Never Eat Alone, which is a book about like finding who the influencers are and just building massive value there. I love Gary Vaynerchuk's stuff. Maybe not a book, but watching him, because his passion just gets you amped up and he's got a lot of cool ideas. So those are my favorite resources.
Nice. And final question, 2 years time, what are you doing? Where are you doing it?
Man, I'm doing my passion. I'm speaking. I'm empowering people to get their message out there. Where am I doing it? I'm doing it on stages, and I'm doing on whatever heck is invented, whatever the new social media platform is. So whether it's Facebook VR at that time, if that's out, I'm going to be doing the same thing, because I really just had that fear of speaking. And once I did it, I realized it could benefit me big time. And I just really want to show people that it can benefit them too.
That's awesome. Well, Dustin, thanks so much. I just want to welcome you to the Youngpreneurs family. If people want to find out more about you or get in touch, where can they go and what can they do? And then give a final shout out for the book as well.
Yeah, speakingempire.com. If you loved what I talked about what we're up to here and Working 101, Amplify Experience, if you want to come experience us live. And then Facebook. I am available on Facebook. Doesn't mean I'm going to get back within 2 seconds. It may take me a day, maybe take 2 days, but I'm available on Facebook. Just type in Dustin Mathews with 1 T. You'll find me there. Message me. I'd love to engage and chat. And NoBSpresentations.com for the book. Wow, that was a lot of links.
Well, we'll link all of those at passiveincomeyoung.com. One happy, nice little place where you can get all the resources and everything that we've talked about today. But finally, thanks again, mate. It's been absolutely awesome, and look forward to following your success.
Awesome. Thanks, Victor. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Youngpreneurs podcast. This was proudly brought to you by the Podcast Institute, the #1 training resource to take your business from chasing leads to leads chasing you, and from an absolute amateur to a full-blown authority. If you're looking to take your business to the next level, then a podcast is the obvious answer. You can get national and global exposure in a very fast time, and it's just exactly what I've done with this podcast. So if you want to find out more, get a checklist on how you can get started for under $60, and to find out more through a small training video that I've prepared for you all, then please check out passiveincomeyoung.com/podcast training.